Hey, Richard, how you doing today?
Okay, how are you?
I'm excellent. I got to say, I'm a huge fan. It's an honor to be speaking with you.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to be talking to you. I think you live in one of the most beautiful states in the country.
Well, you're welcome to drop by anytime.
Thank you.
Well, Richard, I know you've got a new film coming out, Lonely Boys, coming out on DVD and digital download. Can you tell the listeners about the new film, Lonely Boys?
Sure. Well, it's a really sweet, funny, and also quite touching film. It's got everything you're looking for in a lovely movie that you sit and watch and maybe with someone or maybe just by yourself. It's about two sort of hapless fellows who are really struggling with life and being young adults and all of that, and the lead character played by Dan Simon, who also wrote and directed it and did a great job. His character is just he just broke up with his girlfriend, and he's feeling pretty hopeless. And anyway, and they go off on this kind of amazing little journey around New York and the area around New York, trying to figure out what's going on in their lives. And I'm not making it sound nearly as good as it is. I apologize for that. I apologize to Dan, because it's a terrific script. The acting in it is really, really good, and Dan's direction and the cinematography, everything. This was a film that was made for a tiny amount of money, and these all the collaborators on this film, the actors, the director, the crew, really put themselves out and made a film that looks like it cost 10, 20, 30 times what it did. So, and I've been around for a few 24s. I know what it's like to work on really huge films and on really tiny films. And this is the smallest film I've ever shot, smallest feature, and I'm very proud to have been in it.
Well, yeah, I know. As a former president for SAG and, your work with the Motion Picture Board, a television fund, is it important for you to be part of smaller films like this and kind of help ensure that they have a chance?
Well, when you're first getting going in the business, you're just hoping that somebody's gonna, sort of reach down and give you a hand. And I started, from the time I was getting started myself. Whenever anybody asked me if I'd be willing to be part of a film that was going to get somebody else going, whether it was an actor, a director, a writer, a director of photography, whatever, if I could do it, I would always do it, and I've kept doing that for over 40 years. It's vitally important that we help each other. Look, it's vitally important that we help each other in life as well as in in the business. So it's just an extension of what we should all be doing together, in my opinion, in life. You walk through life, every time you turn around, you reach a hand out to somebody. Something good happens for you as well as for them. So, yeah, that was a real long-winded answer to a simple question. Yes, the answer is yes.
No, I definitely agree with you. And I know you've done just about every kind of role there is in your career. So at this point, how do you decide what roles you want to take? Is it basically just helping people out or whatever looks interesting to you? Or?
Well, and anybody who tells you a different story is just plain lying to you, in my opinion, in my experience. Here's how people decide what roles they're going to do. First of all, most of us don't have the luxury of making that kind of decision. We feel extraordinarily lucky if something comes along that we actually can do and get paid for. The secret about actors is we will work for nothing almost any time. Pretty much regardless of what stage we're at in our careers. But if you've been doing this for a while, you know that none of this is in your control. So, yes, there are things that I've turned down because I just wasn't interested in the project, even if I maybe was dragging a little bit financially at various times. but you're first and foremost, you make the decision based on where you're at financially. If you're in a good place, yeah, you can pick and choose. If you're not particularly in a good place financially, generally speaking, your options are limited. And then, but I've been lucky, over time. I haven't been completely stupid with the money I've earned. So I have a little bit of a cushion, and I don't necessarily have to grab everything that comes along. I'm looking for three things basically. Is the role something that I think I can do well and contribute something with? That's number one. Number two, is a piece something where I'm where I really want to support it for some reason, whether it's the content, or the quality of the script, and sometimes I'll do something like that, even though the role doesn't particularly excite me, but I want to be part of it. And the third thing is, are there people in it with whom I want to work? And that can be for all different kinds of reasons. There were times when I wanted to work with people because I thought, well, if I do this, then maybe down the line there'll be some future working with this person. I'll tell you one very quick story. I was offered a TV movie. This was back in the, I think, early '80s, and I was working my butt off. A lot of stuff was going on. I was offered a TV movie. I didn't particularly like the role. I didn't particularly like the script, but Katharine Hepburn was playing one of the leads in it, and I really agonized over this. I really didn't want to do this role. It was going out of town for 6 weeks, and I just, there was nothing about this except for her that made me want to do it, and I turned it down, and it turned out to be, I think, the last thing she ever did. And after I turned it down, I went, this is one of the only things in my whole career I ever regretted. One of the only decisions. And then I remember thinking, gosh, this was such a stupid thing that I didn't take this. And then I was offered something with Jessica Tandy, who was of a similar age, and I took it, and I was very glad I did. Again, I didn't really care about the piece that much. I didn't really care about the character. It was a lovely little movie, as it turned out, called The Story Lady. But I really didn't like the character, but I thought, I'm never going to get a chance to work with her again. And after that, there were several occasions where I took pieces. There was a TV movie that I did called Wild Horses, and they called me up. Kenny Rogers was the lead, and they called me up and they asked me if I wanted to do it. And the only acting I'd seen of Kenny's was like on the Gambler movies, and I didn't particularly care about that. And I said, I'm not really interested. And I said, who else is in it? And they said, Richard Farnsworth and Ben Johnson. Now, these are two guys who had been in, so Ben Johnson had been in virtually every movie that John Ford had ever made. He was a great, great Western actor, won an Academy Award for a film called The Last Picture Show, in which he just knocked it out of the park. And a similar situation with Richard Farnsworth. He was a stuntman for many, many years. He'd been in literally hundreds of films, and then he got this break when he was older, and he won an Academy Award for a picture called The Gray Fox. And I said, do I work with these guys in the film? And the answer was yes. I said, I have scenes with them? And the answer was yes. I said, I'll take it. And they said, do you want to read it? And I said, no, because when was I ever going to get a chance to work with these two great, iconic actors?
Sure.
And a lot of people may not know their names because they were guys like me. They slogged along and did good work for years and years and years, and everybody kind of knew, they recognized them, but they didn't necessarily know their names. And to me, those are my heroes in the business. So, Ben Johnson, who in his youth had been a champion rodeo guy and was a champion roper. I mean, he was one of the great steer, what are they called, calf ropers on the rodeo circuit. Ben Johnson taught me how to throw a rope while I was working on that film. And they would stand there and they would watch me practice over and over again while when we weren't doing anything else, because it was a bunch of Wranglers and cowboys sitting around, and me, which was a great experience for me. I was really glad I did it. So that was making choices for that reason, which was who else is in it, and will I ever work with someone like that again? That was really important. Anyway, thanks a lot. And please, everybody, go rent or buy Lonely Boys and take a look at this lovely little film.
Wonderful. Again, Richard, I'm a huge fan. I got to say quickly, Bride of Boogedy, probably one of my all-time favorite films. It's been great speaking with you today.
Thanks so much, Destin. Take care.
All right, you too. Thank you.